and it would eventually just go away. And that just made it that much more precious for me. So that was very much a part of my life, that theatrical, that performance thing. Back around 2012, when podcasting became very, very easy as far as technology and so on. I got together with my best friend and we started a podcast called the Round Table Podcast. And the premise of this podcast was that my buddy and I would bring on a veteran writer, someone seasoned in the craft, and we would interview them. We would ask them about how they create characters, how they create a scene, how do they write fight scenes or whatever, and really try and understand how they tell their stories in their unique way. It's fascinating. But here's the kick. Then we'd bring on another writer who was maybe younger in their career who had a story idea. And they'd pitch that story idea to us. And then the author and me and my buddy, we'd all have this like 45-minute conversation where we'd brainstorm that story idea. And our goal was always literary gold. We wanted to take this raw alloy, this idea, and polish it until it was ready to become a full-blown story. And it was amazing. Every time you hit that record button, you start that conversation, things happen. When you get 3 or 4 people together, creative people, all bending their energies towards one objective, magic happens. And it's a rush. I literally would have to like calm down after a recording and, drink some hot cocoa or a warm milk or something just to chill the heck out. It's astonishing. So that's been on hiatus for a few years, but I'm getting ready to fire it back up again.
Okay.
Because once you get a couple of rounds of that in your bloodstream, it never gets out. And you can find that at the roundtablepodcast.com. That was the original name of the podcast. But it was, well, I'll talk about that later. We'll come back to that. We'll circle back around. While I was doing this podcast thing, a producer of an audio fiction podcast tuned in and heard my voice and said, "I say, fellow, you have an excellent voice. Perhaps you would like to read some stories, narrate some tales for my podcast." And it's like, yeah, please. And that started me down this road of narration and voice acting and vocal performance, which is another truly remarkable experience because you've got this beautiful words written by talented authors. And I every time I get a chance to narrate a story, I feel privileged that I get to kind of collaborate, be a part of that storytelling process. So these words in and of themselves are marvelous. But then when you get a good storyteller who can take those words and give them voice, and infuse the characters with the personalities and the rhythm and the cadence and all of that fascinating stuff that comes from that theater background that I've only gotten paid 3 times for. That comes out again and again and again. But it transforms that story. It takes it from this written experience, which is marvelous. And I'm a reader. You're a reader. We love to read books. But when somebody's telling you a book in your ear, it's a whole different experience. It's much more intimate, and that special effects engine that everybody has in their imagination starts cranking out all the awesome visuals and what this person,
all the ideas.
Yes, exactly, and it's marvelous. So I'm continuing to do that. I'm pursuing that. I'm in the process of setting up a website for my professional vocal career. You can find that at www.butterymanvoice.com.
Love it.
It was actually Alistair Stewart who hosts Pseudopod, a horror fiction podcast. I did a story for them, and Alistair does these wonderful intros, and he introduced me. He said, Dave has this marvelous buttery man voice, and you're going to love him. And it's like, I'm adding that to my resume. I love that. So there it is. Now it's my URL. So there's that, the storytelling, the vocals, the vocal performance, and then immersing myself in all of these stories, brainstorming them, telling them, exploring them. I got this this very clear sense of how stories are these three-dimensional, four-dimensional things. They're multi-dimensional experiences, but when you're writing them on paper or on the
Right.
screen of a computer, and it's flat, and that's not the way people think about stories. Think of any story that you love, any movie that you've seen. You don't think about one thing. You think about this person doing this thing at this location, and it meant this, and it was in this context.
Right.
That's a story. There
Yes, it is.
wasn't any tool that I was aware of that could present a story as this web work of story elements. So I created Archivos, Archivos. And it allows writers to create their stories starting with a character, and then maybe that character's nemesis or that character's best friend, and then they have a home, so you can upload the city map of their home and put a pin where they live, and maybe they do something at home, and then you can put in an event that had these characters at this location, and suddenly you've got this massive web work. We call it the story web, where you can actually see this event had these people, and these people also are at this event, and you get this whole massive sense of a galaxy that is your story. You can go to archivos.digital, ARCHIVOS.digital, and you can get a free account, no credit cards, no nothing. You can set up your first story and start exploring how Archivos does what it does.
Okay.
And it's marvelous. And that's an ongoing development. I keep getting marvelous feedback from people sharing what would help them with their unique style and their unique process, because everybody's got a different process.
Right.
And it's very difficult for one tool to be something for everyone.
Right.
But we've gotten close, and we're going to continue to develop to do that. The thing that excites me the most about it is, obviously stories, fiction, movies, comics. I love all of that stuff. But if you think about it, history is just a story that really happened. So they have characters, they have events, they have locations.
Right.
So imagine taking something like the Bauhaus art movement or the Renaissance or the civil rights movement and putting that into Archivos. Suddenly, as an educational tool, this creates this interactive, follow the path that you're interested in presentation of history that allows you to understand not just who this person was, but who they were in that larger context of events and people around them. So that's one thing. Education, I think, would be a great way for this to be used. Another way is genealogy.
Yes.
The notion of your life is a story. Everything's a story. We know
that. It is. Everything's a story.
But you and your immediate family and the places you've been and the events that were significant to your family, being able to see that tapestry of life stretching off for generations and being able to navigate through that with the Archivos presentation modes. I just think that would be exciting. And that's something we hope to explore more in the future as well. So there's let's see. So there's podcasting and brainstorming. There's vocal performance and voice acting that I'm hoping to. I really want to get into like animation or video games. I think that would be just.
Oh, and what would you do?
Oh, what wouldn't I do? That's a much shorter list. By golly, I just the.
What would be your favorite? What would be your favorite?
Get me on Batman. I want to be on the Batman animated series. I want to. I wouldn't dream of playing like the Joker because Mark Hamill just nails that.
Yeah, he nails
every
it.
time.
Yeah.
But something on that part, something that I could really chew the scenery with, and just really bring out a voice that becomes iconic for somebody to do something with. Oh God, it would be just awesome.
Oh, that's great.
And that's the thing. Great. I don't want to limit that. As much as I will say, I want to do this, I want to do that. It's like the universe is a much better creation tool than I could ever be. So
absolutely. I just say, all you gotta do is wait.
It's like, this is what I want.
That's right.
You show me how I can get there, and blow my mind. And it always does. It always has, and it always will.
Yeah, totally blows my mind all the time as well. And my sister, Mary Robin, would love you because of Batman. Batman, she would be, what?
And actually, you can't
Freak
see it in the
out.
background. I got a cell. My wife
She
had
would
got me a
freak
cell from
out. She's a
animating.
Batman addict.
Batman's pretty cool. Batman is pretty badass.
Yes. And I thank you for all that you're saying. I thank you for, sharing your what you do, what you love, because you sound like you sound like what your background looks like.
Excellent. Good. That's authenticity right there. When you
Yes.
sound
So you're
like your
excited
story.
about it. You're totally excited about it, which is great. So again, let's go over how we can get in touch with you. We want to get you on Batman. So how do we do that?
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, you can go to the Roundtable Podcast, www.roundtablepodcast.com.
Okay.
That will take you to the website for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Archivos Podcast Network now, but the URL still gets you where you're going.
Okay.
You can go to archivos.digital, ARCHIVOS.digital. There's a contact link on there. You can also go to butterymanvoice.com.
I got that. I wrote that down.
and at the bottom, in the footer down there at the bottom of every page, there's my email address. There's also, I think there's a connection form. I mean, this is a new site. This is like days old.
Oh, wow. So we're in the cusp of everything.
Oh, totally. There's stuff there from the template that is going to be gone really soon, but
okay, good.
But there will be ways to contact me there as well.
Great, that's nice. Well, I thank you, Dave, and I had a great time.
I did too.
Second time around. This is Edna J. White signing off, and Dave Robison signing off, saying, "Have a good one."